Well, good afternoon to you. 4:06 now, WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up today, we're going to be joined by Pat Herrity, Fairfax County Supervisor. We'll talk about the latest early voting data out of the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's an important time. Secure your vote. We'll talk to Pat Herrity about that. Steve Malloy comes up at 5:30. We'll talk energy with him. The Biden administration now finally allowing some oil to be drilled in Venezuela, not here in the United States. It's amazing, isn't it? And Steve has a reaction to that. Also, the green groups out there, the Sierra Club, all these various groups, the NRDC. What do they have to say about Biden turning on the spigot in Venezuela for oil? What do they have to say about this? You're not going to be surprised when you discover the answer here. It's amazing. You can dial us today at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Let me take a phone call. I've got Phil calling in from Fredericksburg now. Phil, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, look, Talib told that absolute lie about blaming the Israelis when Hamas was the only people who were firing missiles at that time. Israelis were actually in bomb shelters at the time trying to hide from Hamas missiles.
Yeah.
When whatever hit that hospital. So she told this absolute lie. She intentionally inflamed that crowd. She tried to start a riot, and she succeeded. So she needs to be taken right out of Congress. That's how I feel about that.
She definitely is inciting this riot today because Talib, I played audio a bit ago. Let me just play it again. The lie gets around. The media runs with it. Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar advance it, saying Israel struck a hospital, killing hundreds. And here's Tlaib today outside the Capitol, just ahead of the people she was ranting to, advancing the lie, raiding the rotunda of the Cannon House office building. Here's Rashida Tlaib.
Continue to watch people think it's okay to bomb a hospital with children. You know what's so hard sometimes is watching those videos and the people telling the kids don't cry. I'm like, let them cry.
Yeah, so there she is, whipping everybody into a frenzy. The group then takes over the rotunda of the Cannon building. And right now, as we're talking, Phil, they are arresting these people ever so slowly. It's practically like the Capitol Police are asking for volunteers right now. Who would like to be arrested next? They're taking forever to eject these insurrectionists from the building. And Rashida Tlaib incited it all along, didn't she?
Yeah, she did, and it's an amazing double standard. If that was Trump supporters, they'd be beating them with clubs and dragging them out by their hair.
No question. No question at all. Phil, thank you. Noticing what's going on here in Washington, D.C. today. This continues. It's been going on for the last few hours now, certainly through the last hour of our program. A group of, with claim to be Jewish people who are saying that they would like Israel not to fight back against Hamas. They want that to stop. Don't fight back. And in fact, accusing Israel, which was just the victim of a terrorist attack, of being genocidal maniacs. So an anti-Israel insurrection is happening right now in the United States Capitol. And I kid you not, it is a very gentle exchange between the Capitol Police right now and the people who refuse to leave the rotunda. They're taking people, they're going up to them one by one. They're like, come this way, and they're gripping them by the hands and trying to pull them away a little bit. There was one guy who is he's built like I don't know, like a stick bug, like very small little human being, and very narrow, slender man. Not even a man, really. And he keeps collapsing to the ground and crying in pain. And the police aren't doing anything to him. They're barely touching him. They're like, oh, sir, come on, let's go this way. He's like, oh! He's rolling around on the floor. Stop. And they're saying, right this way, sir. We've got a cool drink waiting for you in the next room. We'll take care of you. Don't you worry. So there's that. They also say that the Capitol was put on alert for this yesterday. This particular event, there were some security concerns about it, which apparently were well-founded. And members of the staff of the Capitol were made aware that there would be a heightened security environment today as a result of all of this. Well, so much for that. They insurrected their way into the buildings, and they continue to clap and hoot and holler and are ignoring the police officers who are politely asking them to stop. That's actually happening. Corporate media have been trying to stealth edit everything they did yesterday. Daily Caller headline, corporate media mass stealth edits headlines after blindly parroting Hamas to blame Israel for the hospital bombing. Nicole Severio with the report here. Corporate media rushed to blame Israel for an explosion at a Gaza hospital Tuesday based solely on claims from Hamas. Prominent outlets including CNN, Reuters, and the Associated Press immediately took the word of Hamas by framing the devastating bombing of the Baptist hospital as Israel's responsibility, despite the Israeli Defense Forces pinning responsibility on the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Despite unconfirmed reports about the culprit for the bombing, corporate media reported in its headlines and leads that an Israeli airstrike caused the bombing, without any evidence whatsoever beyond Hamas's claims. CNN's headline, for instance, Israel hit hospital and school in Gaza as blockade cripples healthcare system. They later stealth-edited the headline. Israel accused of blasting hospital and school in Gaza as blockade cripples healthcare system. The Wall Street Journal then went with this headline yesterday. Israeli airstrike on Gaza hospital kills more than 500, Palestinian officials say. Reuters blamed the Israelis in the lead sentence of their story. And then they included further down in the article that Israeli officials, quote, had no details on the bombing. In fact, the Wire Service's White House correspondent, that is from Reuters, tweeted definitively that Israel was responsible for the explosion, named Nandita Bozi. An Israeli airstrike on Tuesday killed hundreds of Palestinians at a Gaza City hospital, crammed with patients and displaced people. The reported strike was the bloodiest single incident since Israel launched an unrelenting bombing campaign against Gaza. The Associated Press initially reported Israeli airstrikes were the cause of the hospital bombing. Hundreds killed in Israeli airstrike on Gaza City Hospital, Health Ministry says. That would be Health Ministry. They're referring to Hamas. The terror group said that Israel was responsible. The piece then went into detail on how Israel was blocking Palestinians' access to water, fuel, and food. The outlet later stealth-edited. Again, stealth editing means they don't disclose that they've made a correction to the piece. Or, in this case, full-on retractions. If the piece itself is changed and it is 180 degrees from what it said in the first place, that is a retraction. It's not a subtle correction. Oh, it's not 15 dead. It's actually 14 dead. That's a correction. It's not Israel that struck the hospital. It's Gaza. That's a retraction. It's Hamas. It's a retraction. The headline from the Associated Press, first changed to Hamas-run health ministry says Israeli airstrike on hospital kills hundreds. They later changed it, without disclosing this, to blast kills hundreds at Gaza hospital. Hamas and Israel trade blame as Biden heads to Mideast. Yeah, so that's the media's coverage of this, horrific coverage of this in the last 24 hours. And the evidence here is overwhelming that it is a Hamas attack, an Islamist attack. The IDF assessed that. The American intel community said that. The Hamas itself said that in captured audio recordings, members of Hamas talking to one another. Oh, crap, we just bombed our own place. And then video of the rocket itself shows it came from, you guessed it, Gaza. Now, Joe Biden had some words to say about this. Biden ended up going to Israel. All of his meetings with the Arabs were all canceled by the Arabs, who all bought the American news media's coverage that Israel had attacked the hospital. Oh, we can't talk to the American president now. That can't happen. So that part of his trip collapsed. So he meets with Israel and their leadership, and here's what he had to say in his own sleepy way.
But the point is this, that I was deeply saddened and outraged by the explosion at the hospital in Gaza yesterday. And based on what I've seen, it appears as though it was done by the other team, not you.
I'm sorry.
But there's a lot.
What? What is this language? It was done by the other team. Like it's like a basketball game. It's just a football game. It's a soccer match. They call them matches in soccer. They're more important than games. It's it. Like, it's like, oh, they're just the other team. You know, it wasn't you. It was the other team. The terrorists, you mean? Is that what you're referring to?
And based on what I've seen, it appears as though it was done by the other team, not you. But there's a lot of people out there not sure. So we've got to overcome a lot of things.
What do you mean? Wait a second. So there's a lot of people who are confused about that. What led them to that confusion? And could it have been all of your buddies in the corporate press? There's a lot of people that are confused. And so we got to overcome a lot of things. Yeah, like the lies of the American news media. That would be one of the things you have to overcome, assuming you wanted to overcome all of this. Biden had some other remarks. Doesn't he sound tired? He sounds so tired. He's reading off of a piece of paper. They don't even have a teleprompter available for him to stare into. Remember, at the White House, he can't read a normal-sized teleprompter. It's impossible for him. His eyes don't work that well, given his advanced age and limited capacity. So they often have to bring him to that executive office building next door where they put the words up on a giant TV screen so that he can read it. It's the equivalent of like one of those oversized remotes you give to old people because they can't use the little ones for the TV. He can't read these things on a little screen, you know. And so when he gets the 10% for the big guy emails, he's got to read them on like an 80-inch television. Oh, okay, 10% for the big guy. Biden reading off of note cards in this very weak posture, stooped over, staring at his note cards, barely able to get the words out today.
You know, years ago, I asked the Secretary of State when he and I were working in the Senate to write something for me, and he said, he wrote a line that I think is appropriate. He said, it's not, we lead, not just, well, I won't go into it. I'll wait later. Taking too much time.
Now, normally, under normal circumstances, I can translate Bidenese for you. I hear something and I know what he either intended to say or what they intended for him to say, why it came out so mangled. I can normally do that. I have no idea what he's talking about. I haven't the slightest idea what he's even attempting to say in that cut. At all. Does that inspire you? I mean, it's like, you got to wonder what foreigners who don't speak any English at all detect from the body language and tone of voice and all of that and the projection, right? When they see, what does it look like when you see Donald? If you don't understand a lick of English and you watch Joe Biden speak and you watch Donald Trump speak, how do you assess those two men? I don't even know what that was. Here's Biden today saying he's made a bunch of wartime decisions.
I've made wartime decisions. I know the choices are never clear or easy for the leadership. There's always cost.
Yeah, there's always cost. It's never easy. He mentioned once sitting across from the former prime minister of Israel.
I told the story before, and I'll tell it again, of my first meeting with an Israeli prime minister 50 years ago as a young senator. I was sitting across from Golda Meir at her desk in her office, and she had a guy who later became prime minister, sitting next to me.
Wow. It's an amazing story. It's moving. Very moving. Also, Biden today, we're going to have to get into the details of this a little bit more, but I think it's important that you are aware of this. Biden today announced that, you know, the region of the world that's currently holding an untold number of American hostages, that is right there in the Gaza Strip. Hamas is holding American hostages. Biden announced a fresh infusion of $100 million to the Gaza Strip today.
Today, I'm also announcing $100 million in new U.S. funding for humanitarian assistance in both Gaza and the West Bank. This money will support more than 1 million displaced and conflict-affected Palestinians, including emergency needs in Gaza.
By the way, every time, you know what happens, Hamas steals all of this. They steal it because they control the region. They're the controlling power in Gaza. And Biden just announced, in the wake of a terrorist attack on Israel, that we're going to send another $100 million in there to be controlled by Hamas, which is currently holding American hostages. Is the $100 million a ransom payment? Are they going to release hostages? Are we at least going to get our people back, or is this just a freebie? Sounds like a freebie right now. There's no indication whatsoever that our hostages are coming back as a result of this today. All right, joining me on the phone right now is a columnist for The Messenger and Fox News contributor. Joe Concha is here. Joe, hey there, sir. Joe, check, 1, 2. You there, buddy? Tell me he's there. He put his phone down? Is that what?
Yeah, guys, I'm here. Sorry. I just got a new phone, and it's like not working very well.
Well, I'm glad to connect with you, Joe. Joe, the media, a lot of lies yesterday about this attack on the hospital. They instantly bought this line that Israel led the attack. Have any of these outlets issued actual corrections or retractions, or are they just trying to memory hole the whole thing?
It's just stealth edit, right? Slowly changing headlines, slowly changing the narrative. And what we're seeing now at the Capitol, Vince, not far from you, as far as Rashida Tlaib leading these protesters, feels and looks insurrectiony to me. They breached the Capitol building, and she still is going on with this lie that Israel carried out this attack, which wasn't an attack. It was obviously Islamic Jihad misfiring a missile, and it didn't even hit the hospital. It hit the parking lot next to the hospital. Yet you look back on all these headlines, Vince, and it was basically everybody, it seems, where they talked about up to 500 people dead. Israel was to blame, and there was no verification, no fact-checking. They automatically took the narrative of Hamas, and the sneaky way they did it, Vince, was by saying Israel fires missile, rocket bombs, whatever, at Gaza hospital. Palestinians say. That's sneaky because Palestinians is Hamas. So say Hamas says that, and maybe people will be a little bit more skeptical of it.
It's insane. And so Rashida Tlaib just whipped a bunch of people into a frenzy who are now staging an insurrection inside the rotunda of the Cannon House office building. The Capitol Police are very slowly welcoming each person out in order to be arrested in a very polite way. And so what's going to happen to Tlaib? Is the left ever going to break from this lady and be like, look, she's a lying lunatic? She, even in the face of all of the evidence, she just gets up there and she actually incited a riot at the Capitol.
And this, Vince, is why while we have American hostages still being held, that just puts their lives further in danger. 30 Americans were just killed by this Hamas government that she obviously supports. And now every Democrat in Congress, starting with AOC, Nancy Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, they should all be asked, do you condemn this? Should she still be in Congress? All right? They need that treatment.
Joe Concha, thank you very much for your time, sir. Really appreciate your assessment today.
Thanks, Vince. Have a good one, man.
You too. It is 4:30 now on WMAL. Good afternoon to you. 4:35 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up, Steve Malloy will join us at 5:30. We'll talk energy with him, as we so often do. This time about the Biden administration's decision to ease sanctions on Venezuelan oil. No big deal, just helping a socialist government out, but not our own people. You can join us today at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Speaking of Biden, I have audio coming up for you of what is basically either a live or just concluded press briefing he did of sorts, a kind of press conference. He's standing on Air Force One, and we've got some footage of him chatting with the press. He's very tired. He's in a sweater, and he's got some thoughts on his stop in Israel. We'll play some of that for you coming up. But in the meantime, I want to talk about the Virginia election. We are in the early voting period right now in the Commonwealth. It is so very important that you lock in your vote now while you have an opportunity. And I want to talk about what the trends look like with Pat Herrity now, Fairfax County Supervisor, who joins us on the phone. Hello, Pat. Good to have you with us, sir.
Good to be on, Vince.
This is an important time, isn't it? And how's it going in your estimation?
Well, I think it's going good. I've heard the feedback statewide that the governor's effort to get people, and Republicans specifically, to vote early is having some incredible success. Statewide, I know it's a priority in my campaign to get people to vote. We've seen some increase in people that we've modeled Republican in Springfield over 4 years ago. So we're continuing to work it hard, but we need to not go into Election Day being down, and that's what I know the governor is working on. That's what I'm working on, and many of our other candidates are working on.
Obviously, you want Republicans to show up to vote for Republicans, but do you sense that Republicans do have the enthusiasm advantage right now?
Oh, very definitely. I believe we do. Everything from the economy, the tax situation here, crime. Our test scores in Fairfax are down. People are not happy, and angry people vote. Happy people stay home. And I don't think the Democrats are happy. They just don't have any good answers to the issues that are making people angry.
You talk about the governor and the attorney general and the lieutenant governor. They've all been out making this important point, which is that Republicans should think of this early vote process, so long as we're going to have it in Virginia, as an opportunity to secure your vote, to keep someone else from possibly stealing it. You don't want anybody going in and misrepresenting themselves, but you can secure your vote now by actually casting it. Then it's not up for grabs at all.
Yeah, that's correct. And you're going to mark a paper ballot that we keep. So your vote does get secured. Somebody can't come in and impersonate you because you're taken off the rolls. One of the favorite things I tell people is we know people have voted in when they vote. We don't know how they vote. But, when you vote early, you also save candidates and campaigns time and money and effort, because we won't bother you anymore after you voted. We won't send you mail. We won't text you. We won't do any of that. So you actually both help yourself out by securing your vote, making sure nobody else walks into the poll on election day and votes for you. But also you save the campaigns and time and energy in trying to get you to vote.
Well, there you go. I never heard that kind of pitch. That's hilarious. In other words, we won't annoy you anymore if you promise to vote early. That's wonderful. Yeah. I love that.
Oh, no, I just went through my my plan moving up to election day, and the number of text messages I'll be sending before election day. And it saves me money, and it saves you aggravation. If you vote early, you won't get those text messages.
Well, that's a big deal. And the fact that it saves you money, too, is also a big deal, because what that means, as you are more familiar than most, is that the precious resources that you have can be better utilized to actually capture people who need to be urged and pushed a little bit more to get out and vote.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were actually pushing that message out. I did a social media post on that today where we were talking about how you can help us by getting out and voting early.
Yeah, that's amazing. So do you feel good about the trajectory of the way things are going right now?
In terms of the early vote, yes. As you know, I'm in a tough district. It's a 38% Yunkin district. Our poll shows there's a lot of undecided. There's a lot of new voters in my district. So we're doing everything we can to make sure we get people out to vote. We need to get Republicans out to vote. We need to get people that want balance and common sense on the Board of Supervisors out to vote.
Yeah, amen. And the key is not only should you vote, you should tell literally everyone you share these sentiments with of fixing the Commonwealth. Get them out to go with you. The Democrats for years have specialized in throwing people into vans and buses and getting them to the polls. This is a great opportunity for Republicans to fight back and use the energy that's clearly there on the right.
Absolutely, and the energy. I do believe the energy is with us, and I feel it at the doors and at HOA meetings. People are not happy with the direction. The direction certainly in Fairfax County, and we've got a lot of fixing to do in the Commonwealth, and the governor needs a Senate in order to get that fixing done.
Pat, if it's possible, we're talking to Pat Herrity from Fairfax County, if it's possible to rank the issue priority you're encountering among voters, what is it?
Well, the top three are really education, crime, and taxes. I mean, it's really an affordability issue. We're literally taxing. More people have left Fairfax County every year since Jerry Connolly doubled taxes in 2000, from 2000 to 2008. Since 2009, more people have left than have come to Fairfax County. And we're seeing that trend increase as in recent years because taxes have gone up 50% in 10 years.
Yeah.
And people are voting with their feet, but we need to turn that around.
Yeah. Yeah,
those are the big three.
The big one, as far as I'm concerned, is getting rid of those damn car taxes every year. Anyone who can do that, I would say let's get rid of democracy and make that person king.
Well, I think the governor wants to get rid of it. I know I want to get rid of it, and I think it's a financial burden that needs to be split between the state and the locality. And I think if we get responsible people elected in the state senate and here in Fairfax County, we can get rid of it.
Yeah. That would be a big deal. That'd be a really big deal. All right, Pat Herrity, thank you for the update on this, and best of luck as you continue to get the word out. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Take care.
Good to talk to you. So that's a bit of good news. The energy is there, and that's a compelling little argument, right? So you got a couple things. One, secure your vote, prevent it from being stolen by someone who would go in and pretend to be you. You don't want that to happen, so secure the vote. Additionally, the budget thing is actually kind of compelling. I realize that that's campaign politics, but if they realize that you're off the field as a voter, they're not going to hassle you. No more of these mailers and all that crap showing up at your house to, you should vote for this guy, or door knocking and all that. No, you're done. You've already cast your ballot. And additionally, you've actually allowed them to reallocate resources towards getting other people out to vote during this very precious time. So a good opportunity. And just another reminder, now is the early vote in the Commonwealth. And if you'd like to change things, you have a hand in it. You really do. You have better odds of succeeding here than you do in the Mega Millions. a lot better odds. And did you buy a ticket? I forget which one it was a couple weeks ago. It was like $1.7 billion. Yeah, I burned $20. I only do it when it gets up to ridiculous numbers. And my odds are still just as crappy mathematically. And guess what happened? I didn't win. Didn't happen. Amazing. All right, let's go check in on Joe Biden. We've got Joe Biden remarks from Air Force One. Here they are on a slight delay for you. I wanted to get Pat Herrity in here first. So here is Joe Biden.
Virtually every mass shooting, every circumstance where a large number of people have been victimized and lost, I spoke with them. I learned a long time ago, what you've all learned in your lives as well.
Blinking over his shoulder.
When someone's going through something that is beyond their comprehension, that they ever thought they'd have to go through, if they see someone who they think understands or maybe been through something.
He's kind of rattling on and on here about how he knows how to deal with people who are undergoing trauma. I imagine he's going to invoke Beau Biden here at any moment.
Sometimes with my staff, because when I go to these events, I stay for 3 and 4 hours and answer all their questions. But it matters. It matters a lot. And look, I'm talking, some of you have gone through a hell of a lot more than I've gone through, and a lot more than other people have gone through, and you understand. So it's just people are looking for just something to grab.
Now, you know, oh boy,
it gives them some sense.
He's talking about grabbing people. You know, what's happening right now is hovering behind him are the Secretary of State, Tony Blinken. They're all, like, literally locking in as close as they can to make sure he doesn't say anything wrong. You have John Kirby as well. The adult press secretary is standing there next to him, wide-eyed, as he often is, kind of looking on, trying to see what Biden is saying to the press here. And additionally, Corinne is there. She's wearing glasses. She's casual Corinne today, standing there, the child press secretary for the White House. And they're all, again, hovering within proximity of him to try and give him the hook if he really screws up here.
This deal done, was the in-person diplomacy aspect really important here?
What do you think? I'll let you answer that.
You joked about the House.
Was the in-person diplomacy thing really important for you? What do you think, he says? That is anger, bouts of anger like that are typically associated with dementia.
When you deal with Jim Jordan and his predicament.
Do I have any what?
Do you have a view of Jim Jordan's current
The press asking the important questions. Do you have a view of Jim Jordan's current run for speaker? It's a deeply important question to ask Joe Biden as he navigates whether or not we're going to go into World War III.
Unable to secure the speakership.
I ache for him. No.
He said, I ache for him. He laughed.
None. No.
Mr. President?
At the hospital, sir, people all over the region are upset about the hospital and don't necessarily believe you or the Israelis that they didn't have anything to do with it. Do you have a message to the people in the streets right now?
Well, I
think this is a New York Times reporter. I'm not sure if the New York Times was were they among the outlets that said yesterday Israel bombed the hospital? They were. Okay, so a New York Times reporter. Do you have a message, he asked to Joe Biden, for those people who don't believe you that it was Hamas that bombed the hospital in Gaza. Now, a normal president with a functioning brain would say, yeah, don't believe the New York Times. That would be the answer. Here's how Joe Biden handles that.
Understand why in this circumstance they wouldn't believe. I can understand that. But I would not, you notice I don't say things like that unless I have faith in the source from which I've gotten it. Our Defense Department says it's highly unlikely that it was Israelis, but if a different footprint, and they've intercepted some. Anyway, so that's why, if you notice, I didn't say it first. I wanted to make sure that I knew. And look,
he's saying that in so many words, the intel community has told him that that this was not done by Israel, that in fact the missile came from inside of Gaza. Now, of course, as president of the United States, he's allowed to disclose as much as he wants about classified information. That's one of the quirks of being president. Unless you're Donald Trump, then you're screwed. You will be indicted at a later date for sharing or handling classified information. Joe Biden has a lot of experience with classified information. He stole quite a bit of it when he was the United States Senator and Vice President of the United States.
And I'm not suggesting that Hamas deliberately did it either. That's that old thing, got to know how to shoot straight.
Hamas doesn't know how to shoot straight. He's saying that maybe they need to learn so that they can better attack Israel. I don't know what he's even suggesting here. But other than saying, well, let me give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they accidentally bombed the parking lot of the hospital.
And it's not the first time Hamas has launched something that didn't function.
One other piece here. We don't actually know the death count. You know that death toll that they keep on bandying about? It's all over the place. It's like illegal immigration in the United States. Nobody quite knows. It's somewhere between 9 and 30 million people. How useful is that? The hospital blast yesterday, they're saying, oh, it was 200 people. No, it was 300 people. It was 500 people. The numbers are all over the place. The only source of information on this has been Hamas. We don't actually know how many. Was it dozens? Was it any? I would presume it was some, right? But where we are reliant on an organization, Hamas knows that Israel did not fire this missile. They are lying about that. So what else are they lying about here? They also lied. Remember, after the terror attack in Israel, they claimed that they didn't target civilians, despite all of the video evidence to the contrary, the horrific video evidence to the contrary.
So I don't know all the detail, but I do know the people at the Defense Department who I respect, and the intelligence community that I respect. It's highly improbable that Israel did that.
Mr. President, are the Israelis operating within the rules of war that you talked about last week being so important?
Good talk.
Now here again, so the press's position here is that Israel are the bad guys. Israel's the bad guys. So a question from I don't know who, standing there on Air Force One, and just to be crystal clear, how you end up on Air Force One as a reporter, you pay a lot of money. You have to be from a super wealthy news organization to be on Air Force One. It is not a giveaway. By the law, they don't just give away these seats. They are paying first class plus $1 pricing to fly to and from Israel. In other words, small media organizations, independent news outlets, places with not a lot of revenue are not on this airplane. This is the corporate news media and the corporate news media alone that's in this situation right now. It's the only reason they put Biden out in front of these reporters, because they don't think that there's a risk that he's going to be asked anything that would undermine whatever his agenda might be. And so a reporter asks, what are you doing to hold Israel accountable here in the wake of a terrorist attack on Israel?
Thanks,
everybody.
One more time, wait.
So important.
Good talking, Joe.
Thanks, everybody. War that Mr. President, are the Israelis operating within the rules of war that you talked about last week being so important?
Good talking, Joe.
Thanks, everybody.
What was that? So what is Biden too scared to anger his base or something? He doesn't even answer the question. Are the Israelis operating within the rules of war? Biden says, good talking to you. He turns around. Kirby starts yelling, thanks, everybody. That's it. The adult press secretary. Yeah, Biden did make a big announcement today. The place that's holding all those American hostages is about to get $100 million in American cash.
Today, I'm also announcing $100 million in new U.S. funding for humanitarian assistance in both Gaza and the West Bank.
Yeah, Hamas always steals all that money. Is that going to happen again? Well, yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. So they'll have our money and our people. How's this a good idea? More on this coming up. A number of Republicans now speaking out about this. Also, remember, AOC doesn't know anything about the Middle East, which is why she takes such strong opinions on the subject. It's all ahead on the Vince Coglianese Show.